Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome each and every one of you to a new League of Legends video. So something I enjoy doing, and I'm sure a lot of you enjoy hearing or watching me make videos about, are just overall strong champions, especially ones for mid lane. But on top of that, if this champion that I talk about, that I personally believe is very strong in the mid lane, is also very strong in other lanes, then it's just a plus. And today's video is going to be just that. I'll be talking to you guys about Pantheon, a champion that can be played successfully in the mid lane, top lane, and in the jungle. He has extremely high win percentages across most regions, and it's a champion that I've personally been playing much more frequently recently because, well, he is just very strong. But on top of everything else, if you also have a friend who happens to be a jungler, if you play mid lane and he plays some jungler that has some hard CC, maybe like Elise, the ganks on mid lane just simply do not get any easier. But I'll get more into that in just a little bit. But right before we get into the actual meat of the topic, the question of this video is, what kind of champion do you want to see next in League of Legends? Let me know your answers down below in the comments, and if you end up enjoying this video, let me know by hitting that like button. So first, let us just talk about what makes Pantheon a very strong champion right now and why I'm just really highly recommending you guys try him out and play him. So I'm sure a lot of you know how much I praise Twisted Fate being pretty much the king of solo queue. Well, Pantheon is his AD version. He is pretty much the exact same thing as Twisted Fate. It's just instead of building AP items and being an AP champion, well, you're gonna be an AD champion building AD items. But something that makes Pantheon a bit better than Twisted Fate in certain aspects is the fact that he snowballs the game even harder, because not only can he provide more or less the same presence that Twisted Fate can, but he himself is just a better champion when ahead, especially if you get that lead much earlier into the game. He's got really good bonus AD ratios, he has a lot of base damage as well. His kit, especially with Thunderlords, is just very fluent and works together. And unlike Twisted Fate, he also has a very strong laning phase, one where a lot of people will play very passively because they're not only scared of Pantheon, but they're also respecting the Pantheon. Let me put it this way, this is not a champion you want to mess up the laning phase when you're versing him, because if you let him have any sort of lead, he's gonna get out of control, and it'll make the game much more difficult unless the Pantheon is on your team. So like I said, even though I personally play him in the mid lane, he can easily be played top lane and even in the jungle, but it's pretty cool playing him in the jungle because you can get the level 6 somewhat secretly. No one will know when you hit level 6 on the enemy team, and you can gank a lane without them really expecting it. He's got those guaranteed crits when they're below 15% HP with his auto attacks and his Q, which is a fantastic way to finish off a wounded target, because it does essentially mean that the target has 15% less max HP, because especially if they're a squishy, if they're ever at that 15% HP or less threshold, they're pretty much dead. But the major thing, the thing that really makes Pantheon a fantastic champion, just like Twisted Fate, is the ultimate. It's got very long range, you can use it behind enemy lines, and you don't really see it coming as often as you do with Twisted Fate, but I will argue that they're pretty much the same when it comes to how fast an enemy can react to it. But either way, his does damage, which if you get it right in the center, will do an insane amount of damage. His W is a very simple, strong point and click stun. Black Cleaver is even more of a cost efficient item, which is without question a core item on Pantheon and works perfectly with him. And like I said at the beginning, dueling with a friend that plays jungle and that can play a champion with a hard CC ability, so again like Elise's Cocoon or something like that, maybe Gragas's Body Slam, it'll make the gank so damn easy, because all you have to do as Pantheon is walk up to your foe in the lane, stun them with your W, it ensures that your ally will be able to land their hard CC, and chances are you will kill them or at least burn both their summoners. All in all, Pantheon is just a ridiculously strong champion. He snowballs like a madman, and this is not a champion you want to face that's fed. The negatives is he will fall off late game if you don't finish the game too fast and if you don't really get ahead super early, but in my honest opinion, I don't feel like he falls off as hard as I feel like he should. He doesn't really provide much wave clear, and he does require a lot of early game pressure to be successful, which does mean that you have somewhat of a time limit. So that means even though I do think Pantheon is insanely strong and I think he's a pretty easy way to win your solo queue games, it does come with a little bit of a price. You have to know what you're doing, you have to know how to utilize his ultimate and create the pressure around the map to snowball. But if you know, then trust me, you will be rewarded. Alright, so now that you guys have an idea as to why I think Pantheon is strong and is fairly easy to win games with, let's move on to some tips and tricks. So something else that I like about Pantheon that unfortunately Twisted Fate cannot do is he can tower dive very easily, and that's all thanks to his passive and the W, which will also reset the passive. So you tower dive, you use your ultimate on maybe top or bottom tower, you tank a tower shot, your passive gets procced, and you can always W the champion or even W enemy minions proc your passive again, and that's 2 tower shots. That's going to be absorbing a ridiculous amount of damage, especially if you do it early on. But whenever you're laning top or mid lane, try to always have your passive up. So if it's not, either W the enemy or auto attack the minions to get it back up. It makes it much harder for the enemy to try and trade with you, and a lot of the times you'll come out in winning areas. You always want to spam your Q on the person you're laning against, but not to the point where you just run out of mana in an instant. You want to spread them out just evenly enough to harass them and show dominance in the lane. But if you happen to get them to the point of half HP around level 4 or 5 or maybe even 6, then they are most likely in kill range, especially if you have Ignite. So don't be scared to just flash W, auto attack, QE, ignite them, and they're probably dead. But the main goal, the main playstyle that you're looking for is to get that level 6 as soon as possible and just roam. You want to use your ultimate the second it's off cooldown. So the second it's up, or the second it's maybe around 10 seconds from being off cooldown, start looking top, start looking bot, look in the jungle, start finding and looking for that opportunity to utilize it the second it's up, because you have to utilize your ultimate properly or you're just simply not doing your job. Now, another quick tip that I personally found out to be really useful is whenever you're doing team fights, a lot of the times people like to initiate a team fight with Pantheon's ultimate. Now, if you're actually catching someone important, that's perfectly fine. If you die for it, that's fine as well. But if it's a 5v5 team fight and you can't really find someone with your ultimate in the backline instantly before the fight actually starts, chill in the front, peel for your backline, do some damage, get the black cleaver procs going, lower their armor, and once the team fight happens for a little bit and people start spreading out, maybe running away and their backline is maybe half HP, they're trying to, you know, play a lot safer, that's when you also move back, use your ultimate on the backline, and then surprise them. Get those kills and get those game-winning plays. Try to always cancel your Q animation with another ability or by walking, because it will save you time, and those few milliseconds will be the difference between maybe getting or losing a kill. And at the very bottom there, you can see 2 typical combos you can use when assassinating a target based on how healthy they are with their HP. Now that you have an idea on how you want to utilize his ultimate and how you want to play him with some tips and tricks, let's quickly mention and talk about what abilities to level and what summoners to take. So this is pretty straightforward. You always want to start with your Q first, but if a level 1 invade happens and you can catch someone or chain CC them, then you want to get your W, use that, but else you want to level your Q. Level 2, you almost always want to get your W in case your jungler ganks for you, in case you want to go in for the trades. It's just flat out better than E. Level 3 is when things get a little bit more tricky. Now, if the person you're laning against is still full on HP or fairly healthy, go ahead and get that Q to make your harass even stronger. If they're already at 50% or lower, get your E ability, get them to that 15% HP at level 3 with the ignite, and go for the kill. Or at least try to go for the kill and zone them out. But all in all, you want to obviously level your ultimate whenever you can, followed by your Q, then your E, and then you max your W last. For summoners in the mid lane, I almost always recommend going Flash Ignite, but Flash Teleport is not necessarily wrong. Ignite usually is better, however. Jungle, obviously Flash Smite. Top lane, you can either go Flash Ignite or Flash Teleport. It just depends on what you're trying to do, but usually I'll recommend the Ignite. Alright guys, now with all that out of the way, let's go into the part I'm sure a lot of you are waiting for. The items, the runes, and the masteries. So let's start things off first with the runes and the masteries. Here's what I recommend. So going over the runes first, I mean, it's a very standard page. You want to run flat AD reds, flat AD quins, HP per level, or flat armor yellows. Again, just depends on what you're facing. And you want to run either flat MR or MR per level blues, though usually I recommend the MR per level. The whole idea here is just to have that flat AD bonus damage in the laning phase. You want to snowball hard, you want to have the pressure in the laning phase, and you want to scale your abilities even better since they do scale off of bonus AD. The masteries can be 12, 18, 0, also quite standard. Obviously you want the assassin so your laning phase is even stronger. Thunderlords for obvious reasons because it's easy to proc and adds to your overall burst damage, and everything else should be more or less self-explanatory. And now let's take a quick look at which items you want to get. So you want to usually start off with the Corrupting Potion because it does give you that mana regeneration, which you are going to need. But if you feel like you can manage your mana and go even more aggressively, then the Longsword can work. But I personally recommend going Corrupting Potion. Now the core items that you want to get in almost every single game is going to be Boots of Swiftness because Pantheon is all about that mobility. These boots are perfect for him, trust me. Then you want to get Yomu's Ghostblade with a Black Cleaver. Now Maw of Malmortius is also in my opinion kind of core, but if they just have no magic damage whatsoever or nothing that's a threat, then you obviously don't need Maw. However, if they have any form of magic damage that you are respecting, that you want to maybe not risk dying to, Maw of Malmortius is absolutely wonderful as well. But if you're not snowballing, then you can only choose one, either Youmuu's or Maw. You can't really have both, but if you get one of them and you happen to start doing quite well and you have a lot of gold, you can most likely get the other one as well. But either way, Black Cleaver you want to get every single game, and there's absolutely no reason not to get it. The other recommended items that you can choose from are things such as Theric's Gauge, obviously if you did not go for the Maw of Malmortius. I personally think Deadman's is quite good, Last Whisper if they have a lot of tanks, Duskblade if you're just feeling really risky and you're snowballing like a madman, and Guardian's Angel since you don't really build too much tanky items, so Guardian's Angel being quite effective. And at the very bottom there I have a rough build example in terms of how you want to buy your items in what order. Again, this can change based on what you're getting, if you're getting Maw of Malmortius early or not, if you're getting both of them, but this should still definitely give you a rough idea. And next let's move on to the final part of the video, my final thoughts. So I'm going to be giving him a very impressive 8.5 out of 10. Now this might be a little bit too high, maybe 8 out of 10 was better, but I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of a risk. Truly, I believe Pantheon is a very strong champion. I've had many games where either I got really fed and hard carried the game, or I maybe didn't do super well in the laning phase, but the teamfight power is still there if you utilize your ultimate properly. I've had games where I went 1-5 in the laning phase, but still ended off the game maybe 13-5, because again, if you just play the teamfights properly, you are gonna still be a very big threat. He's pretty much the AD version of Twisted Fate. He does a lot of damage, he snowballs like a madman, his ultimate is absolutely wonderful, and he's just a champion that a lot of people are scared to play against because they know what he can do. But there you guys have it, Pantheon. Now you know everything you need to know to try him out. I do highly recommend you try him, maybe in the normals game first, bring him into rank after. The main thing is just to utilize the ultimate properly, that's the biggest thing. But I seriously believe if you know what you're doing with him, he's a pretty easy champion and easy to get wins with, especially if you duo queue with a jungler who has a hard CC, camps your lane, and you just utilize that and snowball the hell out of your game. But either way, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please definitely hit that like button to show your support to let me know. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and share this video with your friends. And here are my favorite answers from the previous video's question: which champion do you think is always overpowered? But I hope you guys did enjoy this, and I'll see you next time. Peace.